Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about the potential for a snowstorm actually across the Midwest this week, and this will be occurring around the Wednesday-Thursday time frame. This won't be too awfully strong in terms of the snow amounts, however the storm system itself will be pretty impressive. So we will be talking about that. Consider subscribing to this channel, consider liking this video, it really means a lot to me. And that's just really what keeps this channel going. I mean, honestly, if you remember, last March we got demonetized. We're obviously remonetized at this point, but the bigger we can get, the less likelihood for that happening. So consider subscribing, consider liking the video. That really means a lot. So thank you for that. Let's get right into this. Right now we're looking at the GFS model, the 12Z1 that's running on Sunday, November 17th, and basically, there has been some changes. There's a little bit more activity possibly getting shown in long range. The snowstorm has been going on back and forth between being a stronger system, or maybe a bigger snowstorm, and now the models have weakened it again. So notice here's a little nor'easter that is not little, I mean it's fairly powerful, producing quite a bit of rain and sleet and snow across the northern Maine, New England area, and that will lead to several inches of snow. It's not widespread though, pretty localized but heavy. So that's that. With that, we get a little bit blast of cold air behind it. However, we get a ridging pattern which introduces a little bit of warmer air. Notice, however, for the northern plains, there's quite a bit of cold air available, so some of this rain transitions to snow. Not an awfully strong low, though definitely is a storm system that will bring in warm air, as it definitely has a lot of oomph with it, kind of that tropical moisture kind of starts getting activated. You can see right there, it's starting to pull in a little bit of it. Mainly it just wraps up, it's basically straight from the Pacific, this moisture. It combines with the Northwest. Notice there's a system up here. Let me play that. That's going on right now, Tuesday. This is November 19th, going on across the Northwest, and there's one in the Pacific, that comes from the Pacific, and these two meet, and you can see they form a pretty nice system, 999 right there in terms of pressure. So it strengthens as it moves off, 994, 990, so that gets, pretty powerful, if you will. But notice that there's still some remaining moisture across the Four Corners area in southern Arizona, New Mexico, and that unleashes itself into the central and eastern United States almost as a secondary system, kind of like the cold front behind this main system. And now this is Friday, November 22nd. So again, this is it's progressing in time. We're going we get a little bit of snow out of the second one in the northeast. Again, nothing insane, but we're left with, again, some chillier below average temperatures across the eastern U.S. Then we possibly get another ridge. You can see right there starting to build. This is now next weekend, or no, next Tuesday, not the one that's coming up. And we see a bigger storm, which the European actually shows as being a large snowmaker for the Midwest. While this GFS, you can see, does not, and it has it just moving off to the east, kind of bombing out almost by the east coast, but not producing a lot of snow. So let's look at the total snowfall accumulations with that system that happens across the Midwest. You can see, I mean, the snowfall amounts are going to be fairly light, 1 to 2 inches, nothing really heavy. So, not a heavy snow, but it's definitely still a snowstorm. It's going to drop a little bit of snow across the Midwest. Notice also across the mountainous Southwest also leaves a little bit of snow across Colorado and New Mexico and Arizona and Utah. It leaves a little bit of snow, so that's important to note. The Canadian model also shows that same system. Now it introduces even another one at the end of this week, but here's like the original one. You can see widespread, maybe 2 to 3 inches across the upper Midwest. Let's look at the MSLP and preset. Let's quickly take a look at this. Again, we have that nor'easter taking a track across the northeast, and this Maine, New Hampshire, New York, seeing quite a bit of snow out of this. However, then look at that, it kind of releases itself right there, that system, and again, not strong really, barely a low pressure, but definitely leads to a little bit of snow, and kind of that secondary system right here, which the European and both the Canadian show being stronger and more further to the south than what the GFS does. So that's a little bit interesting. Notice that with that second wave, This second wave, in case you're wondering, would be occurring Friday of Saturday of this upcoming, next Friday, would be a little bit more powerful, more strong than this one up here, which would be more broad, widespread, and not heavy at all. If we were to go, I want to show you I want to quickly show you the European model snowfall mounts. So let's go to windy.com and let's look at some of these snowfall mounts. I think this incorporates, so it has that initial system across the Midwest. You can see some isolated higher mounts. Generally, generally amounts in a 1 to 3 inch range, or even maybe less than that. Across the Northeast, notice how introduces a little bit more snow than previously thought, around 4 or 5 inches widespread across the Northeast. So that's fairly interesting to note of. Up to 5 inches in Maine, maybe up to half a foot. Next 5 days, again, that system, quite a bit of snow in the mountains, not gonna lie. I mean, you can see up to 20 up to 2 feet of snow, and then finally Nevada getting some snow in Utah. They've been a little bit behind schedule as it's been pretty dry. And then notice with the European, it introduces a couple of other systems across the Northwest, which would just produce insane amounts of snow. But then notice right here, around 17, 18, 17, quite a bit of snow across these areas, and it's because it's to do with a system that is fairly powerful in its range. And I could actually show you this. This would be occurring, by the way, this system would be occurring a week, I think, from tomorrow, something like that. But again, it's the GFS and Canadian both show this system, but they're just showing it much weaker and not in the same fashion as the European, which increases the snowfall amounts quite extensively. So this is the Canadian. You can see it actually has the system delayed right here. This is the system that the European drags out over here, producing heavy snow across Nebraska, Kansas, and Iowa, which you just saw right here. But the Canadian still has it down to the south. Whether or not we'll see in the next model runs, whether it lifts it further up to the north or not. The European model really just is the outlier in terms of the snowy scenario. I mean, the GFS, the newest model run is just coming in, so that's interesting. We'll see how it plays out, this storm that's coming across the weekend. But notice that for the previous model run, it showed that system, that secondary system, and then right here is that system that the European, produced a lot of snow across the plains. This one does not. I mean, the cold air is a little bit further to the north, and the low just drags off to the northeast, but it strengthens right there in that little mid area. But we'll just have to see out to the the truth of that. So basically a powerful system, I guess you could say, is coming this weekend. I wouldn't call it a snowstorm really at all, and that's why I'm not going to call it a snowstorm. I'm going to probably call it a storm system in the title, because it's really not. The snowfall amounts aren't really that huge. Overall, a rather active pattern. If you were to look at the ensembles of the GFS and see what's in store for the long range, you could see that the temperatures aren't going to be really cold. They're going to either be on the more of the mediocre side, and then it possibly starts building in the west a little bit more, maybe getting centralized over the west rather than the east. We'll have to see the extent of that. Still very far out, but you never know what we may see out of this. It's interesting to see what December will bring. The rest of at least November looks rather chilly, but December may be a whole different month, which may be one hell of a month to predict. I mean, seriously, maybe one of the hardest Decembers we've had in a while. Due to there are some signs pointing towards a warmer December, some signs are not. It's a tough one, honestly, in my opinion, and that will be one heck of one to digest. Notice again we get a couple of waves of chillier air, but overall the warmer kind of infiltrates quite often. That is due to, again, the snowstorms or the storm systems. Possible snowstorms are going to be occurring, and with them they always bring a little puff of warmer air, which sends the temperatures above average. So again, the European will have to see if it continues showing that system. The European has been pretty good, darn on good with the systems this year, this season with the snowstorms. So it may, it may be, hinting towards something significant. In terms of the GFS, notice how it's basically the same scenario. It's just coming in the newest model run. I don't think that system will be of any significance. The one of the one this week, I don't think will be really huge, but we'll just have to wait and see. It may actually overproduce, but doesn't seem likely. Many things are in its favor, like the Gulf of Mexico tropical moisture is not going to really be open for business as much as we'd like, and by the time, with that Pacific moisture, by the time it gets through the mountains in the high elevated areas, it's going to weaken a little bit, it's going to degrade it. So that's basically it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.